I know.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi, hi. Ooh, that was quite a sigh. I feel the same way. Okay. Hello, hello, hello.
All right. Bye. You're welcome.
Hello, hello. Okay, hello. Hi, hello, hello. Hi. Okay, we have, okay, hello. So you guys can hear me, yes? Could I?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank
Yes,
you.
we can
Okay,
hear you.
great, thank you. And nice to meet you. You who just said that, was that Sabrina?
Yeah, Sabrina. Yes, Sabrina.
Okay, great,
Nice to
thank
meet
you.
too.
Nice to meet you. Okay, excellent. And thank you for having the guts to participate so early in a class that is already off to such a crazy start. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
are we all confused as to?
no, you are not confused. Or, well, I don't even know what you were going to say.
No, I'm sorry. We had Professor Walters on Thursday, right? And now today is with you?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I'm definitely confused as well.
No,
Yeah,
you definitely are.
confused right
No, the
now.
one thing, right. No, absolutely, right. That's why I'm already, you are not confused. Even if you're confused, it's for legitimate. The confusion
Okay.
is not yours. Yes,
Sounds
I'm going to just. I'm just sort of waiting until everybody gets here. But yes, no. Everything that has gone wrong, at possibly or confusingly or anxiety provokingly thus far in this class is 100% my fault. And anything that's gone right so far is either you hanging on and being willing to roll with craziness, or is Walter saving the situation. I'm going to explain this, but you are definitely in the right place. You are not confused. Hello, hello. And also you get points for guts for even talking at all. Yeah. Okay, I'm just still letting everybody in. Okay, yes, that's right. So actually, in fact, now that you mention it. Okay, so let me try. Okay, so still some people are coming in. Yeah, this is physics 203. No, this is also drama. Okay, this is physics 203. This is physics 203 in the fall of 2020, in the middle of a virus, with a professor who was on the edge of incompetence at best, even before the virus, and is now possibly a disaster. I'm Yaverbaum. I am the guy that's supposed to teach this class. I'm the guy that did not teach this class last Wednesday when it met. I'm going to address that momentarily. If this is the place that from now on class will be this semester, that is, all lectures and recitations for this section of this class, from now on, do meet here at this Zoom session. It should have been here at the Zoom session last Wednesday as well, but I totally did not show up, and Walters saved the situation, and that's why you had, and we'll talk more about that, but that was him correcting a mistake of mine. Thank God somehow he got to you guys, and the Google Classroom that I believe he set up for you guys is still relevant. We'll address that too. Your lab professor is still your lab professor. We'll get to that too. But if you're right here right now for Physics 203, this is the right place to be, and will continue to be on Mondays and Wednesdays at this time. Wait, we'll continue. And there's no difference between lecture and recitation, like ever in physics anyway. We'll address that as well. And people are still coming in. Right, how you would even have known to come here. Oh, and if you're late, so if you're late today, it's totally understandable. Presumably it's because you're only just now finding out where to come. So I know that. It's partly why I'm stalling and moving slow right now, because I still think a lot of people will come. But you guys, how did you even find, did you come here now because you got an email from me? How did you even know to come here?
It was in our Google Classroom.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you. So that Google Classroom that he set up, that is still your Google Classroom. He and I both, and he's still him. Like you'll find too, as we proceed through this, that guy Walters that you all met, if you didn't know him before, that you met last week, he is another physics professor without a doubt. He does teach another section of this very course this semester and has for a while. And teach labs. So he knows everything, as you found out last week, I'm sure. And it will continue to be true that if ever I let you down in any way, you don't understand how I'm explaining something, but you know it's on the test and you want another explanation or something, he will remain as much a resource as ever. Like I can't tell you to call him up at midnight on his personal telephone or something, like that's between you and him. But it is always, and same thing with your lab professor, anything, we are all a team, and anything you can't get from me, you can get from them with whatever their boundaries are. In fact, let me just pause for a second to ask, who is your lab professor?
Professor Wu.
Professor Wu. And did you, and I forget.
We had lab right before this.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Sorry, we had our lab right before lecture right now with you.
Oh, so you just had lab, you're saying?
Yeah. We just came out of lab this morning,
great.
Not even 15 minutes ago about.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks. And all of these things are the things that I should normally know. And I mean, in fact, not only should I know them, but in theory, these facts are decisions that at some point I made in theory, but I'm a little scattered at the moment, as you can see. So that's great. So you had lab and it went fine. Like you were in the right place for that and he was there and it all went and then it ended and you came to me. That's what you're all saying. It sounds
yes.
Okay. Great. And he tends to use Google Classroom too, but as you may have already found, his Google Classroom would be a different class code and all that. Like those materials materials are very related, but I think you can confirm you have a separate Google Classroom for him, yes?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. Okay, so the one good thing is that, just to sort of get whatever, the Google Classroom that Walter set up for you last Wednesday with the train of thought and everything, which we are totally going to get to today, like that was all the correct thing to do. You did not wait. Those of you who were there and know what I'm talking about and did train of thought for today, that was not at all a waste of your time. That is where we're going to pick up and all of that. I'm, as you saw, since you got the notification, I'm continuing to use that exact Google Classroom that he set up. I mean, like that file, so to speak. I will warn you all, if you didn't just already notice, that people do this different ways, but not only does all of physics do Google Classroom rather than Blackboard, but also I tend to put all of my sections of the same thing into one file. Like, in other words, you're gonna have the same homework and basically the same homework as the other section of 203, which meets earlier in the morning, which meets while you guys are at lab. So you guys might have already gotten one thing that might have confused you. I put a little tiny homework to them in the middle of while they were in class that of course also automatically went to you guys. Like, I just want to be clear, those two lists, the 1050 people and the 1215 people, you are all one list in my mind. and in my computer. I try to remember that fact, but that just means like if ever I say something is due at 10:50, that's my bad. I don't ever mean to have you guys panic an hour and a half in advance or in the middle of lab or something. If I ever said something was due at 10:50, that would mean for them. But the little thing that looked like a dumb piece of homework called trial number 1 does apply to all you guys, and we are going to go over it in a second. We're like actually going to all do it together in a second, just to make sure we're on the same page. So that's by way of saying the Professor Walters that you met Wednesday, he's a real person. He totally is amazing at physics, in my opinion, knows anything that anybody needs to know for this class or that I know. So if you became friends with him last Wednesday, he's not going anywhere. He's still totally here. He teaches a different section, blah, blah, blah. His wife, Professor H. Walters, is also a physics professor here, if you don't know that, and also teaches labs and stuff, but apparently doesn't teach your lab. That's fine. You have Professor Wu, also amazing. That guy, I'm very lucky. I love everybody I work with, and that is not always true. Not true at every place I've ever been, and not true.
Professor.
Sorry. Yeah.
I just want to make sure because I'm confused. So you are going to be our lecture professor?
Yes, I'm sorry. So let me back up. I'm totally sorry. Yes. Okay. I am your, yes, that is confusing. I missed class last Wednesday. Well, 2 things happened. Oh, I see. This is very confusing.
Because
Yes.
my schedule say my professor for lecture is Walter.
No, that is true. I'm sorry. You're totally right. I need to back up. There's a double confusion here. But I missed school last Wednesday, so that confused things anyway. But then also, you're absolutely also, for a related reason, Walters and I traded sections. I am your professor from now on, not Walters, right? I'm speaking in a confusing, I forgot that both of those facts happened. You had Walters last Wednesday, 1, because you were supposed to. Yes, it says it on your schedule. 2, also, I wasn't here at all Wednesday because we have a schedule problem. So 2 things happened. I came back, and Walters and I made an adjustment in the schedule for good or for bad. And I do apologize if this messes you guys up, but I am your professor now, not him. That is true for lecture and for recitation. Not because of anything you guys did or anything, obviously. But right, your schedule says him, but even on CUNY First, that's going to change soon. We made an official change. It's not him, it's me. He still teaches, we switched. So he teaches the 305 section now instead, and I teach this one. If you needed to have him for a personal or something like that, I imagine perhaps, well, no, I don't imagine. Let me say this very clearly. As far as lecture and recitations go, wait, yeah, so this is getting confusing. I am saying this to everybody. I'm glad you just interrupted. I know your schedules say Walters, but we made a change and you now have me for lecture and recitation instead of Walters. Your lab does not change, just your lecture and recitation. However, before I go any further, let me also say that we don't care. As far as lectures and recitation, there used to be rules and stuff about labs and how many bodies we could have in the actual room because of fire codes and stuff. So we still have rules, but as far as lecture and recitation, especially on Zoom, this class will meet Mondays and Wednesdays, from 12:15 to 1:30. The exact same lecture will take place. No, I shouldn't say the exact same, but the same curriculum will take place at 3:05 to 4. From 3:05 to 4:15 Mondays and Wednesdays with Walters. So I mean this seriously to everybody. You have me now, not him. But if you like him better, like you like the way he explains things, whatever, you are welcome to sit in his sections rather than mine. Of course, you're welcome to go to both, as far as both of us are concerned. Do whatever you want to do to learn the material. If you want to know exactly what's on my test and stuff like that, it's good to hear me speak. But I'm your official person now. I think we're actually changing that in the official schedules. You will officially get a grade from me for good or bad now, like not him. Just so we're clear to everybody, this all just had to do with a scheduling thing that I messed up. It has nothing to do with anybody personally. But as far as learning, you could still learn from anybody you want. That's a physics thing. I don't know. know what the John Jay rules are about that. But yes, from now on, it's me, not him, but the Google Classroom remains the same. Your lab remains the same. And he and and just so you all know, like we do the same curriculum and we write the test together. We do write the test together. We write the review packets together. It's all very, very intertwined. So it's not different, it's not that different, but that is the case that I missed last Wednesday and we made a schedule change. So you have me now, not him. I'm sorry to say that so many times, but you're right. I didn't even remember. Are people, could you all let's pause for a second. Could everybody either raise their electronic hand or like either put a yes in or something electronic to indicate that you hear what I'm saying right now? That, okay, that's cool. Thank you, Devin. Can everybody just do that just so we can know? Because I do. Okay, cool. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you. Thank you. All right, awesome. I'm just asking everybody just to confirm that they hear that you have me, not him. Okay, great, great. Okay, thank you, thank you. All right. And I know it's all annoying. And I know we want to get to business. We want to get to physics. It was, so this is where we meet. Yes. I wrote, and can everybody can see the board? Yes, this board that says Physics 203, JJ Physics 203. Okay, yeah. Cool. Okay. One thing I wrote at the end of it, it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not, like, because I know last week, there's confusion. There's confusion if there's a schedule change that makes for more confusion. Plus, there's always a little confusion. I mean, we're going to school on Zoom now. I mean, none of us are totally used to this, or at least I'm not. So there's room for there to be confusions. And one thing I want to make, if I already started off on a bad note of not even being there when I was supposed to be there last Wednesday, one thing I want to make clear to everybody is your A is still waiting for you in this class, meaning this. People have different philosophies, and everybody says their philosophy is one thing and then they behave another way. You'll have to decide for yourself what you actually believe my philosophy really is. You'll decide that watching my actions over the next semester and semester after that in Physics 204. But what I believe my philosophy to be is you come to my class with an A. You enter with an A. And your job is to keep the A, and there are ways of losing the A. I mean, your job is not to do those things, but you come to class with an A, and the A can slip or get messed up by actions that maybe you fail to perform to do, whoever you are. Like maybe, if you do badly enough on the tests, or you don't do any homework, or you don't show up to any classes, it's like maybe you can hurt your own A that you started off with. But if I miss a class last Wednesday, that does not go against your A, right? Like, first of all, believe me, we're going to make up the material. Believe me, we will, because in this class we can. We will make up the material for no reason that both the lectures and the recitations are both me. So don't please worry about that. But even more important than the material, like if you came in feeling clear and solid and ready to go, and then confusing things happen, like the wrong professor or not showing up, or not even being totally sure what the homework is, at least know that I know that's me, not you, okay? And I don't have a limit on how many A's can graduate from physics. Like I didn't know this the first 10 years I taught, but every single one of you could end up getting an A in my class. And at worst, what that would mean is maybe next semester I would move a little faster through the material, because maybe I would think that I could. That would be at worst, but I would not. But if every single one of you got an A, then that means every single one of you got an A. And that is totally fair and possible if we all do our jobs. Someone doesn't have to get a bad grade so that I can prove a point in the world of how hard physics is. I already know how hard physics is. So especially when I screw up, please know that just makes me that much more knowledgeable of how much anxiety might be being caused, and therefore makes me that much more sympathetic, not less. As far as homework is concerned, like we have a whole policy about how you get points for homework and how it helps your grade. That whole policy is in the syllabus. If Joe said anything about it on Wednesday, then everything he said I agree with and is correct. If he didn't, we'll still talk about it. But the best way to find out about all that is what we're going to do, like literally right now, is what I was doing with the other period. We're going to do a little trial first homework. I know you've already done train of thought. We got to get to that to start talking about it, to start doing physics. But just because there could be even before we get to physics, I want to make sure everybody knows that they still have an A possible. And by that, I mean, we're going to do a little quick homework exchange right now. Like you, assuming you've signed up to the Google Classroom, you will see, excuse me, in your classwork
Bless you.
stream. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's nice. You will see in your stream or in your email that there's a dumb little assignment called, it's not dumb, but it's kind of dumb. There's a little assignment that says that it's due today. And the assignment's called homework trial number 1. And if you open up the assignment, all it's asking you to do is write down your name and an email address, presumably your preferred, your Google Classroom email address. It's just asking you to write a name and an address on a piece of paper. And then it's asking you just to import, somehow turn that piece of paper into a PDF and submit that PDF as this 50-point assignment. All homework assignments are worth generally 50 points, 50 homework points. I am asking everybody to do that if they haven't already right now. Like literally write your name on a piece of paper with your email address, and then use your phone to take a quick picture of it, or just or use a scanner to scan it in, but somehow do the one extra step of turning that JPEG or that PNG, turn that image file into an actual PDF, which for some people actually is a very big step. And for others, it's not. But that's why we're going to do it all together. Turn that piece of paper into a PDF. Technically, it could also be a Google Doc. That's fine, but nothing else. Not a Word doc, not an Excel spreadsheet, not an image file. Turn that into a PDF and literally submit that PDF into Google Classroom, like right now. Like that is our first homework that we're doing together. And when you do it right now, as long as you do that, as long as it's a PDF and has your name, you will get 50 points right now, just so that we all know exactly what is the act of submitting homework, like what it requires. This act of turning your thing into a PDF is actually even what you're going to do on exams, which are take home, but do count a lot. So on this very first day, if nothing else, I want to make sure that we're all clear on submitting a PDF or Word or Google Doc as a homework. But what I probably really should emphasize and should have asked in this test is, even if your name takes you 5 pages to write down, like even if you ever submit a homework assignment that has 5 pages, so you had to take 5 different photographs of each of those pages, or you had to scan in 5 different pages, you please, what you must do is compile all those pages together into one PDF file or Google Doc file for the assignment. Like that's almost the real point of this whole thing. I can't accept multiple files for an assignment. That's what you're going to test right now, that you can just give me one PDF for that. And as long as you do, you get 50 points right now, which will count in your average. And we'll all know that there's no confusion about that anymore. So I'm going to look right, excuse me. So I'm looking right now.
Professor?
Yes, I'm listening. Totally
Just a quick question. How would you want us to rename the file, if there's anything specific you'd like?
Oh, right. No, that's a great question. It's a great question. I really appreciate that. As long as you actually do put it in the right place, as long as you put that file in this portal where it was asked for, you actually don't even have to rename. You could rename it nothing. It'll actually, as long as it's a PDF or a Google Doc, I won't even notice the file name. I mean, you're right. That's usually super important. But here it's not, as long as we do the portal right. So you can call whatever you want. And on it, okay, so I see, great. I just got like 12 of them. This is awesome. And we're doing this in real live time, everybody. So everybody who's in the class right now, as long as you go through this exercise, you're right. And I see, as long as you go through this exercise. So I'm looking at, as long as I see that it's literally a PDF or a Google Doc, but I don't, right. And I'm looking to make sure that it's one attachment. Like what all of you want to do is, and really, if I were really a smart teacher, I would have made this assignment a 2-page assignment and to make sure that you could put 2 pages together in one file. Please do not give me 2 files for this right now. What we're looking for is one PDF file and as long as it's one PDF or Google Docs file of your name, no matter what you call it, then yeah, then you will see, and you'll know you've done this right if in a minute, if you've submitted something to me in about a minute, you should get back a 50 out of 50, and then we'll all move on. But this is the way it will work. All homework will work like this, and even your exams, believe it or not. So any questions like the one that was just, in fact, sorry, who was that just asked that question? Do you mind telling?
That was me, Prabjot.
Thank you all right, awesome. I appreciate that you did. Anybody, those questions are what we're here about today. It's like to get especially, I mean, if I'm the guy that didn't show up on your first day of class, you definitely want to we all want to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. So, if you did just give me something about right now, you should, oh, Prab. And and you say cow, can you pronounce your last, is it Kaur?
Core.
Core, oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's cool. So yeah, like, and I'll keep talking while, so what everybody's trying to do right now is turn this in. Train of thought, which we will start talking about in a few moments, for whatever time they left. The train of thought thing that Walter's assigned you guys, that too, if you didn't already, the first thing I will ask you to do, I'm not going to look at it right now, but even though we're going to talk about it today, whether we finish it or not, I would like each one of you to turn in the train of thought in this manner as a PDF, assuming it was already assigned. I'll look again if it was, but all right. So, but as we're speaking, like people are getting the 50s. Once you get a 50, you know you're in but you definitely want a 50 by the end of today. Oh, and I see, right. As long as the end of the file is PDF, you can even have JPEG in it, right. But yes, no one wants to leave today without the 50. And this 50 that you're getting, like basically just for following instructions, I want everybody to know homework starts looking harder and harder than this, of course, and it starts looking more and more mathematical, of course. But maybe you can see this on the board. What I want everybody to know is no matter how hard the homework gets, a homework assignment is, so every homework assignment is like a bunch of questions, a problem set that we, wrote in the department years ago and assigned to you. In other words, most of the homeworks don't come out of a textbook or anything like that. They are PDFs from us that go to you in Google Classroom. And then you answer the questions on separate sheets, just like you did for train of thought or about to. Like you take out separate pieces of paper, whether they're lined or unlined or whatever, or if you're really swift, on your own computer, you're typing out all your work to these things and you submit a separate PDF. But no matter how hard the homework looks, no matter how hard the homework is, if I get a homework from each of you, if I get a PDF from you that I can literally look at without even looking at the assignment, I can just look at it and very clearly there's like question 1 that makes it very clear, like has a picture or diagram that has given this particle at the top of this slide with a velocity of blah. Like if I can see what the problem is, and then you're like part A, a bunch of work, and say part A is what's the velocity at the bottom of the slide or something. And I see that you do a bunch of work, and then I see a boxed answer at the end of that work that says like velocity equals 10 meters per second or something. In other words, if I see what the question is, if I see clear work and I see a clear answer to that question boxed, as long as I can see all that, and I clearly enough to not even have to have the questions next to me, and of course I do know the questions because I wrote them, but if I can see all that clearly and even send it to my cousin and say, look at these students of physics at John Jay, like look what they know, man, look at this, and I send it, whoever my cousin is, and they can look at it and be like, whoa, they were asked that type of question and they did that type of work and they got that type of answer. Well, that's like a lot of, if you do all that, even if every single one of your answers is dead wrong, and I'm dead serious about this, if Walters didn't already say it, if every one of your answers is dead wrong, but it is a boxed answer that follows a bunch of work, that follows like a diagram that makes clear what the question is that you're trying to solve, if every answer is dead wrong, you literally not only can, but probably still would get a 50 out of 50 for any homework, no matter how hard. Like the harder the homeworks get, the more what we're grading on is, and I think it says this, if you can still see the screen. Yeah, each homework, if you can see the screen, I hope you, yeah, each homework is graded on completeness, clarity, and, oh, and I'm sorry, Devin, if you have a question, sorry, I missed, I'll get you in 1 second. Each one is graded on completeness, clarity, and depth, meaning really everything I just said, that as long as you completely address the question and make it clear that you know what the question is, and you attempt to meet in the arena of the question and walk away with an answer, then you'll get a 50 out of 50. And as far as correct answers, that's what we'll find in class, and that's what we'll demand on tests, exams, and all that. But you'll get 50 out of 50 as long as you do everything. And that could even mean doing it late. It could. I mean, you don't want to get in that habit, but it could certainly mean that you did it on time, but you did it sort of badly, and then you came to class and we went over it, and then you got more correct answers and resubmitted it later. It can mean all that. You can submit and submit and submit if you want, as much as you have time for. And I'll always first look at the most recent thing that you submitted, and then I'll back up and look at older drafts, or at least I'll see how much work you did. So that it's never too late, and it's never only a one-shot deal. All homeworks are like drafts, and you get these points on these homeworks up to 50 each time for your efforts. What happens at the end of a semester, I'm going to say this, and then I think Devin had a question, and I'm sorry to keep him waiting, and other people might have questions too. At the end of the semester, you get all these points accumulated for all the homeworks that you did. Like, each homework was worth 50. Let's say there was 10 homeworks. You could get up to 500 points. Maybe on a certain homework, you got a 45 instead of 50. That is not, that if you got a 45 on a certain homework because you left a question out, let's say, if you had a 45 out of 50, it does not mean that you got a 90%, which is only an A minus or something like that. Let's even say you got a 40 out of 50, which would be 80%, which you might consider to be a B minus. That's not what it means on homework. Homework is almost more like extra credit in the following respect. You get a 40 out of 50 on a homework, that means you got 40 homework points. If you didn't do the homework at all, you got 0 points. Okay, not helpful, but that's it. You just got 0 points. At the end, all your homework, okay, I'm gonna totally ask, oh, great, I see Devin's question. Oh, thank you. What an awesome guy. I like this guy already, Devin. All right, I hear, all right, so I'm gonna ignore, I'm gonna keep going for a second, then I'm totally gonna get Devin's question, but I completely appreciate the way he's communicating right now. And you can all do that at all times. Except my train of thought now crashed at the station, of course, because I've had early onset Alzheimer's since I was born. That's how early onset, what was I saying? Ah, yeah, so say you get like, so say there was 200, say there were 500 possible homework points that, we made available by the end of the semester, and you got 440 points. What does that mean? What it means is right at the end of the semester, there's a weighting, and all of this is in the syllabus. It's all in the syllabus for you to recheck later or verify, but it's also super boring to read. At the end, you have all these homework points. We, the physics faculty, decide on a factor, a weighting factor for each semester. One weighting factor that applies to all the students. So it's a dividing number. Say, in other words, say this year, this semester, the dividing number is 44. That means whatever amount of homework points everybody has is divided by 44. Yeah, and you'll see where we come up with that number in a second. But whatever the number is, it's different every semester, but it's the same for every single student. Say the number this semester is 44, and you have 440 accumulated points of homework. What it literally means is exactly what you might be thinking, exactly what it sounds like. It means that your 440 points of accumulated homework will be divided by the number 44, so we'll get 10, right, in your case. And that literally means that after you average your exam scores, like say there were 3 exams, and your straight up average on the 3 exams was an 85, okay? Then you have an 85 test average, but with your, but you will get 10 extra points added to that test average to make your final average in the class of a 95. I'm going to say that more slowly one more time. I'm saying if you accumulate 440 homework points, and in this semester our dividing number is 44, that means 440 will be divided by 44. You'll have extra points of 10. Those 10 will literally be added onto your exam average to give you your final average for the semester. I mean, and then you might also get 1 point for class participation possibly, but that's 1 point. So what if you had an exam average of 85, you'll end up with a 95 if you got 10 points worth of homework. That's a lot, right? 10 points can literally change you from a B to a B plus to an A minus to an A. So is my example an exaggerated example? It's not really an exaggerated example. Not everybody will get 10 points added onto their average. The typical average person at the end of a 203 semester will have like 7 or 8 points added to their average from homework. Like the typical average is around 7 or 8 points. And the homework divisor that we come up with every semester is meant to help, not to hurt. We just have to look at all the numbers to come up with it. But in other words, it means that homework acts as your secret curve lever on your whole grade. The more homework you do, the more points get added to your test average. And it literally is typically around 8 or 9 points. We mean for it to make a huge difference. We do. Some people will get like 13 or 14 points added on to average for sheer homework doing. And we mean for that to happen. If you do like very, very little homework, maybe you'll have like 3 or 4 points added to your average, which is still nice, but not nearly as nice as other people. You cannot be punished for homework. It is like extra credit at the end, but it's designed to make such a big difference that it could literally be the A for a lot of people that they wouldn't otherwise get. And it could mean by the time you go into, well, what it really means is that no one ever believes it until the end, how much of a difference it made. And then they see it at the end when they think they were about to do horribly because of they did bad on the final exam or something like that. And then their grade works out all right. The big lesson is that you then carry that into physics 204, and the exact same system happens in 204. It's all, if nothing else, meant to secretly trick everybody or secretly convince everybody to do tons and tons of homework in 204 before it's too late, because physics gets hard. So you get tons of points for doing homework. You do not lose points for doing homework wrong. You get more points for doing homework over and over and over, okay? And you can turn it in late, and I often see it late because I fall behind. I do fall behind in things that I'm supposed to do. I won't fall behind in material, but I will fall behind in grading and stuff. And the longer I take to look at something, the more it means I'm gonna look fast for your most updated recent answers, and the more, and your work, and the less time I have to look at it, the more benefit goes to you, like the tie goes to the runner. It's important to know how to hand in the homework, because that's the impact of the turning in the homework is all these points that I'm talking about. Now, now I wanna pause for a second and get these questions. One quick thing though, before I forget, since I just did say that fast, and then I wanna get these questions. And I'm being interrupted. We also have to discuss what it means to be doing Zoom. Excuse me for 1 second. Hold on. Is everything okay? Did you find Mom? Because I'm almost, I know, I'm gonna be, guess what though? I'm gonna be done in 20 minutes, and then I'm totally done for the rest of the day, okay? As soon as I'm done in 20 minutes, I'm totally done for the rest of the day. So, and I can't wait. I do say so. That's cute. Okay, hold on. Okay, I don't even know if you just heard that. I apologize. So wait, I want to answer these questions, but I want to say something that's about to escape my mind, which is this. Everything I just said about the homework is super true. And it's in the syllabus so you can see it again, and I'll repeat it, and it's super true again for physics 204. The thing that I said fast that's important is I mentioned your exam average. Let me be a little bit slower about that for a second. What I mean by your exam average is this. You'll have a final exam in our class, in lecture. You'll have a final exam toward the end. We'll talk about that. You'll have a midterm exam. We'll talk about that. You probably won't have a second midterm exam. Like sometimes this class does, but in these Zoom virus times, I think it's a pretty safe bet that you won't. So you'll have one midterm, one exam. You also have this entire lab program that you're doing with Professor Wu. How the grades work, and technically lab is worth, like it says in that syllabus, but technically lab is worth around 35 or 40% of the whole class, because you do a lot of work for lab. what that really ends up meaning is that I take your midterm exam, your final exam, and your lab average, like at the end, your full average from lab, from Professor Wu, like from everything you do for him, it all ends up being one big grade, right? That grade counts a little bit more than an exam because it does, but just tiny bit more. Like you'll have 2 exams plus lab. If they each counted exactly equally, that would be 33%, 33%, 33%. It's not quite that way. Your lab is worth a little bit more and your midterm is worth a little bit less, but basically so we weight them slightly. But the easiest way to think about all of this that almost always entirely right is whatever you got on your midterm and whatever you got on the final and whatever you got in lab, those are 3 basically equal chunks that get averaged together and get one number. And then it's on top of that number that we add all your homework points and your class participation point. In other words, your final grade comes from your lecturer, not your lab instructor. And your lab grade is essentially like one of 3 exams that get arithmetically meaned together, averaged together, and then all the homework gets piled on top of that. Like, if you understand that that's how it works, I think all the details again are in that syllabus document that Walters gave you. That yes, we're keeping. I'm not giving you a new. I mean, that answers one of the questions, but yes, we all have the same syllabus for this question. I'll check to make absolutely sure, but I'm pretty sure what he put in is our correct, most updated standard syllabus, and I don't mean to contradict it at all. But basically, think of your 2 exams and your 1 lab grade as all essentially equivalent in size, and then realize that everything you do in homework, whether you do it correctly or not, but just as long as you do it clearly and completely, all of that gets added, and that's your final grade in the class. So you should. Oh, now I think I understand Erica's question. So as far as I will look carefully what I guess we use the word syllabuses in different ways. The actual curriculum, well, either way, I'm going to stick with it. I will triple check, but Walters and I and Wu we all write all these documents together. So what he put here last Wednesday, I have no interest in changing or no desire to change or confuse unless there's actually something completely wrong with it. So I'll get back to you. But no, that we're using the Walters syllabus now. And in his syllabus and in mine, train of thought comes up first as the first thing to talk about. I will also say, you'll get a little bit more. Wait, today's Monday. You may get one more assignment posted for you. Like, you may hear from me once this class is over before Wednesday. I may post a little bit more homework because technically train of thought was for today, and we're not going to, I have to catch up for the 1 class. So you may get more homework from me, but even if it says it's all due Wednesday, we're only going to get to what we get to. So you just always do the homework in order. In other words, like, do homework 2 before homework 3. But if we get to Wednesday and we're still talking about homework 1 and we haven't even gotten up to homework 2 yet, then you can know that in your mind, that I know that we haven't gotten over homework. So you'll still have time to do it, is what I'm saying. Oh yeah, that's a very fair question. Okay, so I see, and I'm gonna mispronounce this again. Wait, Prabhat, Ms. Kaur, could you say your first name one more time, please? I'm
You
sorry.
actually said it perfectly. It was good.
Oh, really? Wow, okay, well, okay. That's surprising. I still can't even say Yaverbaum correctly, probably. But okay, so your question is very fair. I have to get into the more of the nitty gritty details yes, the day by day, you can't actually tell from that syllabus. That's true. The bad news is that I'm even in a way worse day by day than he is. How can I say this? I will get back to you with the more detailed thing of the day to day, but in a weird way, what's going to end up happening once I get my footing back here and we have a rhythm, all of us, what you're all going to actually find is that the strongest indication, the strongest way to plan ahead and know what's actually going on in the course from day to day will be from the YouTube lectures. I'm going to show you that. Like the organization and order of the YouTube lectures, which I'll give you the link in a second, is more and more what this class is becoming the actual calendar of this class. Right, but you're right. Right now, you can't. It's not exactly very possible to plan ahead right now and say you've done the first 2 assignments already, and you feel like you've got a lot of time and want to do the next 3. It is a little tricky to be able to do that right now. I think I want to say, and I apologize for that. I can't actually help you at the moment. I will say to everybody that it becomes a disadvantage. Trying to get too far ahead in this course sometimes can become more of a mistake than it looks like. But for the moment, let me just apologize and say, you're right. We don't have a day-by-day thing for you at the moment that we would recommend you following. And why is that? That's what's, well, partly because we've had to reconfigure and overhaul a lot of this to adapt to the new Zoom/YouTube way of doing things. That's the bad news. In fact, before let me give you that link right now. Hold on a second.
I didn't mean to overwhelm you. I know syllabuses are always subject to change. I just wanted to know if there was any plan for that. But if not, that's totally all right.
You are very kind. I definitely, all right. I will accept that. Thank you for letting me off the hook with that question for the moment. Yeah, so we'll go with that's all right for the moment. But it's so funny. It's still a fair question. And it's funny how she said, and again, this is the way it works. Like, I will keep talking until someone reminds me to stop. In fact, I was late for this. I went over. Someone's going to have to remind me when the class is over. Like, the best way to get me to stop talking ever is to say something. And I'm glad that people already are. And you can put in the chats too. But yes, there's no you have to interrupt me to talk, because otherwise I'll just keep yammering, especially in the deep, dark void of these black Zoom boxes. Oh, yes, cool. All right, so what I'm going to write, so thank you for clarifying. I'm going to write right now is a link. Hold on, and we're going to clean this up too. But if you go here, I believe this, right? You can verify. If the link I just put in the chat. Oh, I didn't mean. Wait, nope, I didn't. I meant to do it to everyone. Hold on. Right. Okay. I believe this is the YouTube channel where, and this gets us to another topic now. Each one of these classes, I do record. Even all this boring stuff about grades and stuff, which if I remembered, I wouldn't want to record because it's like boring and embarrassing, but each one of these classes is automatically recorded. When the day is over, every day, I do post whatever we did to YouTube, to the channel that I think I just put the link in for you. And if, maybe someone could verify if that worked. 204 at this point happens to be organized like into a somewhat organized, nice playlist. The rest of it is not. I have to do that. I'm going to make it more organized. But every day, whatever we do in class, we'll go to that YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it as many times or as you need or whatever. The Blackboard goes as well as the faces. I will often assign you, so to speak, reading from those lectures. Like, I will, once we get rolling, I will ask you to watch a lecture that was from last semester the night before we actually do it, so that we can be more efficient and hop straight to discussion or problem solving or whatever. We don't really use the textbook. Our assignments are from our department, not from they're all based on the book, but you can use whatever book you want to read and figure things out. But all of what happens here in terms of exams come from the lectures here, and the lectures here are reposted on YouTube, which means we also feel the right to reassign the lectures that are on YouTube. What does that mean? That means once I get them more organized, you will be able to have sneak peeks ahead and whatever. With assignments, I think you won't, well, as far as exams, I will give you exam date. So our first exam, I will tell you soon when it's going to be. The worst thing that might happen is we might change that date, but we never make it earlier. We don't do surprise exams. We don't do surprise updates of exam dates. Like, we don't make exams earlier ever to catch people. We'll talk more as the exam comes, but we always give a practice exam out in advance for to take home, and we give solutions to the practice exam, so you will know what the exam looks like way before you get to the exam. You will. And the actual exam you take will be like 80 to 85% identical to whatever practice exam we give you, like literally identical. And then the other 15% is like where you have to think, but the formats will be the same, the blah, blah, blah. So I'm still kind of on that question, that even though I was nicely let off the hook. What we don't want, we don't want you to have any surprises that we can avoid. So we don't try to surprise you with exam formats or surprise quizzes or things like that. There will be surprises just by virtue of the fact that I'm a mess and that I'm not as organized as I should be. So there will be enough of those surprises that everything else we try to compensate for. Okay, this is a good question. The Google Classroom code, the Google, and I know we're starting. Our next, when we start really talking about physics momentarily, it's going to be about train of thought. But for the moment, I'm just trying to get all this stuff. So yes, the Google Classroom code, I apologize, is, hold on. The Google, yeah, is, hang on. Oh, and I see that question too. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, I just typed the Google Classroom code in. And train of thought, good point, hold on. And I still haven't even gotten to, Devin's been the most patient of any human being alive, like ever in the history of the universe, because Devin's been quietly waiting with this question forever. But as he says, it is about the actual train of thought, which it's true. I'm sort of postponing until but someone has pointed out that the train of thought was not made into an assignment. So hang on one second. Oh, I see what you mean. All right, we're about to fix that. Hang on one second. Oh, that is weird. Wait a minute. Hang on. So I'm right now addressing the person that asked, and they were totally right. They were right that train of thought for some reason was not actually, it's only there as material, not as an assignment. And that is, you're right. Let me fix that. Bear with me for one moment. That is a problem. Bear with me, I apologize. Okay. Okay. I apologize. Oh, for heaven's sake. All right. Let me know right now. You should all receive, you should any minute now receive the actual assignment portal for the train of thought. The only, there's a small, let me know.
Yeah, I got it.
Somehow, great, thank you. Okay, the one flaw, I'm gonna fix, so that's to address, someone just said, so that means that now technically train of thought is So technically to everybody, there was a homework that we just did together right now in this class that, again, if you have, everybody who's sitting in this class now should already have 50 points of successful homework, like credit. If not, right now, you should do homework trial number 1 or whatever. But then train of thought would now technically be our homework number 2, which is due Wednesday. You should all see that there's actually a place to submit all your answers. Now, the only flaw, which I'm going to fix right now, the only flaw is that yes, okay. Just making absolute. Okay. And I am aware. Okay. 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 It should now be the case for everybody. And again, believe me, I know this is incredibly. First, you don't have, well, I want to start talking about this train of thought thing, but now I believe we're now in a position where everybody has the assignment itself, like the actual PDF packet to read. You should have an assignment portal now to put it in. And now even in that assignment portal itself should be, oh, oh, oh. That's a great question. Wow. Okay. Yes. Great question. Okay. So this is all scattered, but what I feel like what I'm learning today is that you guys do very much know how to communicate, at least with me. I'm hoping that we learn that I know how to communicate with you. But every question that everybody's asked, I like what they asked. I like the way they asked it. I'm hoping that I'm answering the question. And yeah, I think we will be in a position Wednesday to fully go, like now you'll have had sort of a long time to do this whole packet. Yeah, please include the sketches. Now, I'll be honest about this. I would like you to do the whole thing just so that there is a lot. The train of thought, it seems sort of like a weird way to begin a science class. It seems repetitive and very Englishy and very open-ended. And all of that is true. There is a lot of more significance to it than meets the eye. And sometimes I don't do the whole thing. It's true. Some of it could be skipped. So, but we're gonna do the whole thing here just because now you've had this much time to sit on it. We should make it worth it. So I am saying to everybody, yes, please do the whole thing on a separate PDF for Wednesday, including the sketches. So yes, do every part and make it clear that you're doing every part, but don't kill yourself over the sketches or any of the answers. Like we're in a few minutes we have remaining today, we're going to start talking about it and you'll see what it's going to do for us in the course or why I think it's worth it. And I do, but don't take it overly stressfully or overly seriously. Like you'll see that those questions are open-ended. They are. Ultimately, I'm going to say that some things that somebody could write down to some of those questions are actually wrong. Like, let me put it a different way. Those open-ended questions often have more than one possible right answer, definitely. In fact, some of them might have an infinite number of possibly correct answers. That's much more true often in physics than people realize. Like physics, often there's a lot of situations where there's a lot of different right answers. It's much more that way than people realize. However, one super important lesson in physics is just because you face a question where there's an infinite number of possible right answers, doesn't it all mean that there aren't also an infinite number of wrong answers? And often there can be a greater infinitude of wrong answers possible to a question than the infinitude of right answers. That sounds like I don't know what that sounds like. It might sound like garbage to you, but it's actually true. Some infinities are bigger than others in math. It's true. Some infinities are bigger than other infinities. And on many questions in physics, there may be an infinite number of right ways to answer it, but there's equally well an infinite number of wrong ways, and the infinitude of wrongness can often be of a higher scale than the infinitude of rightness. So it's worth taking questions seriously, even if they're open-ended. Don't take it too stressfully, whatever you do with this train of thought thing. Like, write down what you, don't do a ton of research. Don't don't go to Chegg, for God's sake. We'll talk about that too. Although if you want to go to Chegg, I'd love to see what Chegg has to say about this train of thought. But yes, please do the whole thing and don't do it with too much stress. If I post another assignment or two, they will be called number line and average speed. Any assignments that I post from now on will look much more mathematical, will look more like what you consider to be physics. The next couple assignments, they won't be hard. They'll just look more like math. If I post them, just try them once you finish this. Anything I post will not assume that you've read a million physics books before. I'm not assuming that you've read anything in a textbook. If I give you the next assignment sheet called number line, whatever you need to answer the sheet will be on the sheet itself if you read it carefully enough. Like that, and that's true for the next sheet after that called average speed. It really is true. So don't be stressed if suddenly the homework assignment pops up in the middle of tonight. Well, all right, we've got 6 minutes. Let me ask you, can you all electronically raise your hand if you did even attempt if you read Train of Thought at all? Could you please, if you read it at all, like if you know what it's about, could you, cool, thank you. Yes, can we do the hands thing that I see Sabrina do? Cool, 4 people, awesome. More people. If you read, great. Oh, that's right, you already discussed it. Oh, that's right, thank you for reminding me. You all discussed the first part together. Thank you, Devin, again, the man, yes, okay. So you discussed it already in the 5 minutes we have remaining, so I don't waste any more of your time. Did you get to a conclusion, or what was the last thought? Did you conclude anything, or were you left with a question, or if anybody wants to summarize exactly okay, yeah, tell me, just someone talk. That's right, I forgot you've discussed the first part. So how far did you get, or what did you decide? No conclusion. Walter's left us with. Walter's with the question of. Okay.
Talk about 1A through D, so that we could talk like amongst ourselves. He came back for like a minute to hear our answers to those questions and our opinions, and then we were told to hold off and wait until today to discuss the rest of the questions in part 1. And we did not look at part 2 at all.
Okay, all right, great. So now that's very, very helpful. And what Devin said is very helpful. And Rachel, okay. So now this is killing me. You wouldn't know. Believe me, I really love physics and talking about physics. I can't believe I've now wasted 2 of your class periods in a way of not yet getting to this yet. So because I know we only have 5 minutes, let me give you a hint of where that first part, okay, so how many vote if you, no, okay, I'm trying to, all right. Yeah, I gotta know. I know I have 4 minutes. I'm watching the clock. I've got to know. First of all, take down your hands entirely. If your hands were up for something else, please take down your hands for a second. I know we've got 4 minutes, but I just need to know. All right. I want to see a show of hands if you actually said, yes, I'm moving. If that was your vote, like as of now, or if your basic vote, and again, this is an opinion thing for the moment. Raise your hand if you basically said, yes, I'm moving. I'm looking at hands, and I'm just looking at numbers. I'm not looking at, I don't know who. Okay, so like maybe a hand, like not very many, like a couple of hands, like 4 hands. Okay, and now put your hands down, please. And I know we've got 3 minutes. I'm totally watching. Okay, now raise your hand if you said, no, I'm not moving. I'm just curious. Okay, 1. Cool, okay, cool. So more people said no, but it still seems pretty, now this is cool. Okay, so, but there's definitely a debate here. I mean, like some people said yes, more people said no, and I haven't even asked about the other categories of like not enough information. I'm not even going to, I'm going to assume for the moment that if you didn't put up your hands for the first 2, that you would, oh, right. Like if I say, all right, yeah, let's do that, fine. We've got 2 minutes. How many, raise your hand if you say we didn't have enough info. If we didn't have enough info, some, all right, cool. So everybody really had different opinions on this. Oh, so this is totally worth discussing. And it sucks that I'm depriving you again of another discussion because I haven't even gotten to the fourth and fifth possibility. So it looks like everybody really did have a vote, which is great. And they're all different votes. Now, I can't resolve the whole thing for you now in 2 minutes, but I could tell you this. I mean, I could tell you that there was a reason we're doing this. In the 2 minutes I have, I'll say, some of you maybe have ever had this experience in real life, maybe. Like you might have actually been on, for example, a plane from Tokyo or a subway in Tokyo, like somewhere where subways are actually smooth, like Tokyo or Washington, D.C., or you might have been on an airplane or in an elevator where for 1 moment, you might literally not be sure whether you're moving or not. I mean, you could keep that to, and maybe it was because of some narcotic influence, or maybe it was not at all. Maybe it was 100% because of the confusion of reality. But some of you might have had this experience. Some of you might not. All of you know that the train of thought itself is a fictional experience. So like, why are we wasting your time with it in science? The quickest thing I can say for right now, the reason the question is relevant, the reason it actually matters is largely because, in fact, we all went through that dilemma in a very big and cosmic way in history. It might or might not have occurred to you, but let's just maybe spell it out, that the train of thought thing is a metaphor for exactly the confusion that we all have regarding the mothership of Earth, right? Like if you think about it, for most of history, there was, or even to now, some people have one belief about Earth moving, and other people at other times in history have had another opinion about Earth moving. You may think you know whether Earth is moving or not. You might think you even have been taught in 3rd grade or something whether Earth is moving. But whatever you might think the answer is, if you sit and picture all the evidence of any of your day-to-day life or any evidence that you've ever accumulated, I would defy all of us to come up with any evidence whatsoever to suggest definitively that the Earth is moving past the sun, rather than believing, for example, that the sun or moon or stars move past us. Like the question of whether that subway is actually moving past things or things are moving past it is just a thinly veiled metaphor for whether the Earth is moving or not. And the way we actually resolve whether the Earth is moving or not is, in fact, the birth and the backbone of physics. Like physics comes out of, like all of physics, like Newton, Galileo, all the laws that we're going to do together. The way we do physics, it actually comes from a struggle to answer the question of whether the Earth moves or not. Now, does it? I'm not going to answer till Wednesday. I will say, if you, well, no, I won't say. I don't know if you, well, I'll talk about it. This is a cheap book that you can't see. I'll show you Wednesday. Anyway, the real issue of the train of thought, the real issue is the Earth moving or not? And you may think you know the answer, but the real question is, how can we tell, or how do we come to that answer? And whatever we do to come to that answer is inventing the laws of physics. But we're going to pick up on, I don't want to keep you late because I've already done that. Your homework for Wednesday is to finish by your own opinions, the train of thought packet. If I post any more, try what I post, but I won't hold anybody responsible for anything other than train of thought on Wednesday. You've been very, very indulgent. I mean, very, very patient and flexible. I'm so sorry for all prior confusions, but it's here again, Wednesday at 12:15. It'll be just like today. There's no difference between lecture and recitation. Lab is still with Wu. I will have office hours and stuff like that and give you more details, but I'm going to go now so that you're not late for community hour, whatever that means. And I hope everybody in your families are actually healthy, and I hope that the virus is treating you as well as possible. And I know that even if it's treating you perfectly, it still sucks and it still makes it hard to learn. So may the force be with you. I'll see you soon.